The familiar taunt echoed in my ears as I awoke.
Want me to form a bond with him? Sure, but only if that worthless creature offers his dragon essence blood to nourish my David. Then, I might reward him with a servant contract.
I had returned to the day of forming the contract, the beginning of the nightmare.
How dare you, Emma? Do you really want to abandon the noble and supreme dragon and choose to bond with a lowly water snake spirit?
Yes. This useless dragon is severely injured and can no longer transform. Besides using his essence blood for medicine, what other use does he have?
She held the water snake with pride, her disdain for me obvious.
And my David has dragon blood in him, he will be 100 times stronger in the future.
Emma looked at me with contempt.
Why are you staring at me? Don't even think about forming a bond with me. Unless you offer your dragon pearl and essence blood, I might consider making you a pill.
I crossed my arms, feeling the déjà vu of the scene. This time, I wouldn't repeat my past mistakes. Clenching my fists, I unleashed my spiritual power. Flames rose from under my feet, blinding everyone. When the golden light faded, I stood there, transformed, with long white hair and an astonishing appearance, wearing a green robe.
The dragon has transformed. Blessings upon the 9 provinces.
Even those outside the sect sensed the rare dragon transformation. Emma's anger turned to a glimmer of surprise before she laughed.
I didn't expect you, a worthless creature, to have such deep feelings for me. But going against the heavens while still injured will only hasten your demise.
I snorted coldly, not even sparing her a glance.
A broken body like yours wants to match with me? I will only form a bond with David. If you continue to pester, you won't even get the position of a servant.
I walked straight past her, heading towards a thin, weak girl outside the crowd. Ignoring her shocked expression, I reached out my hand. Would you like to form a bond with me?
Even if you can't have me, you can't just randomly pick a worthless person to form a bond with. This will only make me hate you more.
I avoided her hand with disgust. I am a dragon, above all in heaven and earth. You dare to insult me like this? I was originally the son of the ancestral dragon from the upper realm. My father resided in the highest heavens, unparalleled in nobility. Even the celestial beings and demons had to show me respect, bowing and addressing me as the emperor's son. However, I had been waiting for 1,000 years for my transformation trial, which had yet to come.
During my training in the lower realm, I was injured and saved by the head of the heavenly water sect, Emma's grandmother, who sacrificed her life for me. To repay this kindness, I took on the responsibility of protecting the sect despite my severe injuries. To better protect the sect, I decided to form a bond with Emma, intending to groom her into the next sect leader.
Everyone knew that once I successfully transformed, I would become the most powerful being in this realm. In my previous life, I forced Emma to form a bond with me under the old sect leader's orders. But her heart was entirely set on that water serpent spirit, and she neglected her training. To please her, I tried to fulfill all her desires.
She knew I was unwell and couldn't withstand the cold energy from the icy mountain, yet she deliberately demanded the rare herbs from there. I risked my life to retrieve them, only for her to crush them underfoot, saying that not everyone was worthy of gathering herbs for her.
Later, I heard from fellow disciples that Emma was searching for spiritual herbs to repair her spiritual veins and enhance her power. I eagerly presented my dragon blood to her.
My dragon blood is far superior to any heavenly treasures and can rapidly boost your spiritual power.
Emma glanced at me indifferently and took the bowl. I was overjoyed, thinking she had finally accepted me. But for several days, she demanded more blood from me. On the 15th day, my body could no longer endure it, and I went to her room to explain, filled with guilt.
Before I could enter, I heard intimate voices through the door.
They say dragon blood is a great thing. It indeed makes one stronger. If it weren't for Emma, I wouldn't drink that filthy dragon blood.
David, I'm sorry for you. Next time, make sure he cleans himself before drawing blood.
I clenched my fists, suppressing my anger, and turned away without a word. Overwhelmed by emotions and blood loss, I fainted. I was eventually saved by a young girl living in the mountains. The water serpent spirit, nourished by my dragon blood, grew increasingly powerful, even developing dragon horns. Rumors of a true dragon's descent spread within the sect, and everyone treated the water serpent spirit as an honored guest, eagerly awaiting his ascension. Meanwhile, my condition worsened, and my already injured body could no longer wield any power. At this time, news of my severe injury reached the upper realm. Various sects activated the interrealm formation, and countless celestial beings and demons descended, eyeing the heavenly water sect with hostility. In this critical moment, Emma, the senior disciple, not only refused to help fend off the invaders but also took advantage of my weakness, pressing a sword to my neck to deliver me to the celestial beings and demons.
The undying emperor has promised me that if I deliver you, David will have a chance to ascend.
I refused to comply, but then a figure rushed over. It was the servant girl who had saved me years ago. However, she was no match for Emma and was soon pierced through the chest, her heart shattered by the sword. Blood flowed out, dripping onto my face, hot and scalding. My eyes burned, and my voice was low. At that moment, I had nothing left to repay her kindness. I thought for a moment and asked, "What's your name?"
Alice.
Even in her final moments, she fought to protect me until she lay lifeless in my arms, tears rolling down my cheeks.
My eyes turned blood red, and at that moment, my transformation trial finally arrived. I awakened the power of the ancestral dragon, mastering time and space. I reversed time and swore through gritted teeth, "Emma, if I survive this trial, I will drink your blood, eat your flesh, and make you suffer the same hatred I feel today."
She arrogantly crossed her arms, deciding my fate as if it were a gift. But I walked straight past her, heading towards the thin, weak girl outside the crowd. Ignoring the girl's shocked expression, I reached out my hand to her.
"Would you like to form a bond with me?"
Before the girl could react, Emma stepped forward to pull my hand. She glared and shouted angrily,
Even if you can't have me, you can't just randomly pick a worthless person to form a bond with to spite me. This will only make me hate you more.
I avoided her hand with disgust, my eyes filled with coldness.
"I am a dragon, above all, in heaven and earth. You dare to insult me like this?"
She arrogantly crossed her arms, deciding my fate as if it were a gift.
Excited, I walked straight past her, heading towards the thin, weak girl outside the crowd.
Ignoring the girl's shocked expression, I reached out my hand to her.
"Hopeful, would you like to form a bond with me?"
Before the girl could react, Emma stepped forward to pull my hand.
Angry, even if you can't have me, you can't just randomly pick a worthless person to form a bond with to spite me. This will only make me dislike you more.
I avoided her hand with disgust, my eyes filled with coldness.
Angry, "I am a dragon, above all, in heaven and earth. You dare to insult me like this?"
Without time to explain, I transformed into a dragon and leapt into the sky, heading straight for the mountain peak. Following Alice's aura, I tore through the layers of stone gates of the immortal cleansing pool in a single bound. The person I had always cherished, never scolding or hitting, and nurturing with the finest treasures, was now pale as paper, barely clinging to life, floating on the pool's surface.
"Alice!"
Her spiritual energy was rapidly dissipating, spreading out like flowing water. Meanwhile, Emma's eyes were bloodshot as she laughed triumphantly. Alice struggled to crawl to the shore, only to be kicked back by Emma.
Why are you coming up? Your aura hasn't been cleansed yet.
Fury burned within me, and I let out a dragon's roar, sending a powerful blast of energy straight at Emma.
"How dare you touch my person? You're courting disaster!"
I didn't hold back with this strike. Emma groaned in pain and fell into the immortal cleansing pool. The pool, which had been gradually calming, began to boil as soon as she fell in.
Ah! It hurts!
I quickly jumped into the pool and rescued Alice. She weakly opened her eyes, giving me a faint, painful smile.
I knew you would come to save me.
She fainted immediately after. I cut my wrist and fed her dragon blood to restore her strength. The dragon blood was highly nourishing, and Alice's pallor improved significantly. Meanwhile, Emma struggled desperately to get out of the pool. Each time she tried to climb ashore, I flicked my sleeve, sending her back with a wave of spiritual energy. Over and over, countless times, until the sun had set behind the mountains. Alice's breathing finally stabilized. I gently carried her out, ignoring the faint cries for help behind me. My steps quickened, filled with worry, hoping that Alice would be all right. Little did I know, the immortal cleansing pool had turned out to be a blessing in disguise for Alice. Not only did her spiritual energy not dissipate, but with the nourishment of my dragon blood, her blocked meridians showed signs of breaking through. I also discovered her true identity. But Emma had attempted to harm Alice in my absence, and I couldn't let that go. One day, while I was preparing medicinal food for Alice in Panglai residence, Emma came to find me. She seemed to have recovered, her eyes red as she stared at me.
Liam, I remember everything.
I frowned, not understanding her meaning. She tried to grab my hand, but I avoided her. She awkwardly said,
I had a strange dream I need to tell you about.
She described a dream where she was the pride of the sect, destined to bond with the strongest dragon, Liam. We were deeply in love, trained hard, and eventually ascended together, leaving behind a legendary tale that made others envious. Hearing this, I realized Emma had also been reborn. But I couldn't fathom how she had the audacity to turn the past, where she had tormented me, into such a fantastical story. She looked at me with bright eyes, trying to convince me.
So, if it weren't for that Alice, we would have been together long ago.
Really? What a coincidence. I had a similar dream, but the process and outcome were entirely different.
Really?
I had no time for her theatrics and got straight to the point.
I not only remember our bond, but also the harm and torment you inflicted on me. Why are you still here? Do you want me to recount it all for you?
I turned to leave, but Emma blocked my way.
It was all a misunderstanding.
My hand at my side clenched, gathering spiritual energy, my eyes narrowing dangerously.
If I were you, remembering everything, I would stay far away. Who knows when that oath will come to pass?
As I spoke, I raised my hand, and a massive wave of spiritual energy whooshed past her ear. With a crack, a large tree fell to the ground.
Next time, who knows where this strike will land?
At that moment, Alice arrived, having heard the commotion. Seeing Emma's unstable state, like a wildcat with its fur standing on end, she positioned herself protectively in front of me. Many disciples of the sect were drawn by the noise, and the crowd grew larger, buzzing with discussions.
I get it now, it's because of her that you won't come back. She's of low status, how could she ever be worthy of you?
Didn't you always say I was a worthless dying man? By your own words, I am unworthy of Alice. Now that you have your own spirit beast contract, you are unworthy of me. So, you are even less worthy of Alice.
Gasps erupted around us. Alice stared at me, her eyes sincere and intense, making me feel a bit embarrassed.
I want to challenge you. If I win, you must break your bond with Liam.
She directed her words at Alice, but her eyes never left me.
And if you lose?
I won't lose.
If you lose, you must leave the Treacherous sect forever and never return.
The surrounding discussions grew louder.
Oh my, never return. Who do you think will win? Emma brought this on herself. She rejected him when they formed a bond, saying he was unworthy. Now that he's regained his strength and surpassed her, she's trying to cling to him. Of course, she's trying to cling to him. Look at Alice. She used to be a powerless servant. Liam showered her with resources, and now her whole demeanor has transformed.
Since that day, I set the challenge for a month later. Alice trained even harder but always avoided me. I couldn't see her except during group training. One day, unable to understand, I stopped her.
Why do you run away whenever you see me?
Alice lowered her head and whispered.
I just want to find more time to train.
She tried to leave. I helplessly grabbed her, intending to scold her for not focusing. A hot tear fell on my hand.
You?
Alice suddenly looked up at me, her face already covered in tears. She clutched my sleeve.
I know I'm not as talented as Sophia, but I'll work hard. She learned something once. I can learn it 10 times without getting tired. I'm just a bit slow. Please don't abandon me.
Seeing my stern expression, she quickly added.
David, you bonded with me just to spite her. It's okay, really. It's natural to like someone excellent. If you need, I can break the bond anytime, but can I still stay by your side?
You will win this challenge.
She looked at me in surprise, then lowered her eyes again.
You don't know, Emma has made rapid progress, breaking through 2 levels in 10 days. She's now in the nascent soul stage, close to the tribulation stage. Everyone in the sect says you have no eye for talent, picking me, a sesame seed, over her, a watermelon.
Seeing Alice's dejected look, I couldn't help but laugh. I pulled out an ancient, yellowed book from my robe.
I've been looking for the reason behind your slow progress, and I found the answer in this book.
Lyce stared at me in disbelief.
What? Your true form is a phoenix, but you have been wandering in the lower realm since childhood. The thin spiritual energy of the lower realm couldn't support your needs, so to survive, your body adapted to the lower realm's energy, closing your meridians to maintain balance.
Meanwhile, David, due to Emma's increased strength, was quite popular in the sect. That day, when he saw me, he openly flaunted Emma's current power, claiming she would undoubtedly be the next sect leader and threatening to teach me a lesson.
Emma will be the next sect leader for sure. You better watch out.
Rolled my eyes dramatically.
Who would argue with a fool?
As the sect's opinion shifted, the betting pool for the upcoming competition also turned upside down. Lyce had a 10% chance, while Emma had 90%. That day, I happened to pass by the betting courtyard. With my hands behind my back, I walked in and, amidst the crowd's mocking stares, placed all my wealth on Lyce. My ears were too sharp. As I left, I overheard whispers behind me.
If Alice loses, this dragon lord will have to scavenge for a living.
Emma has already conceded, but this dragon lord still won't take the easy way out. Now, he'll lose face and everything else.
Lyce trained diligently day and night, making it hard for me to see her. She was determined to give it her all. The night before the competition, golden thunder rumbled over the sect, its power immense. The sect members looked up in awe.
Heaven blesses our sect.
Another great power descends.
I merely smiled coldly at all this and instructed Alice to give her best the next day. When I arrived at the competition venue the next morning, it was already packed with people. As expected, everyone had gotten up early to secure a spot.
They've never been this enthusiastic about training.
I brought Alice. Emma was already seated confidently across from us. I was puzzled.
Where was that annoying water serpent spirit?
MMA's eyes were intensely fixated on me, as if trying to bore a hole through me. To ease Alice's nerves before the match, I joked.
Alice, I bet everything on you. If you lose, we'll spend the rest of our lives scavenging.
He gave me a big smile, her eyes reassuring. Alice's bright eyes sparkled with laughter, her high ponytail swaying lightly in the wind, a stark contrast to when I first met her. As the drums sounded, Emma swung her long whip, aiming directly at Alice's face. Alice dodged quickly.
From the start, the outcome seemed clear. The crowd found it boring but were secretly pleased at the prospect of winning spirit stones from the bets.
Hay expected an early end, but as minutes passed, Emma's whip slowed, her stamina waning. Meanwhile, Alice's dodging became faster, almost leaving after images.
All you can do is dodge. If you like dodging so much, I'll cripple your legs.
After all this time, you still haven't found my weakness. Shouldn't you reflect on yourself?
Hay clashed head-on. A water serpent's shadow appeared above Emma's head as she formed hand seals, putting all her strength into this strike. I narrowed my eyes. She had refined that water serpent spirit. How ruthless. She would stop at nothing to win. The crowd recognized the familiar golden light and exclaimed,
So it was Emma who broke through last night.
Who can withstand this?
Wait, something's off with Alice.
LL eyes turned to her. Lice no longer held back. She drew energy with her sword, channeling it to her core. Loud phoenix cry echoed for miles, and a phoenix's shadow spread its wings in the sky. In comparison, Emma's water serpent seemed insignificant. The phoenix's brilliance overshadowed the golden light. Two energies collided, creating a powerful shockwave. The arena was enveloped in golden light, obscuring the view. Here was a cry, followed by a crashing sound, and then silence. A breeze blew, dispersing the golden light.
Alice stood firmly in the center of the arena, her sword raised, her eyes cold. But when she turned to look at me, her eyes shimmered with youthful pride.
Felt an inexplicable warmth on my face and quickly looked away.
Is that all? You think you can defeat me? A deep, hoarse voice suddenly echoed. From the dusty stone cave, Emma emerged, her eyes filled with malice. She gathered her spiritual power in her palm and, taking Alice by surprise, shot it towards her back. My heart tightened, and I instantly moved behind Alice, easily blocking the attack.
Angry, Emma, falling off the stage means defeat. You can pack up and leave now.
Emma laughed hysterically, tears streaming down her face from whatever joy she found. She pointed at my feet and sneered.
Look at what's beneath your feet first.
As soon as she spoke, golden light swiftly spread from beneath me, forming a formation. Oh no! It's a binding formation that can drain the spiritual power of those within it. Instinctively, I wanted to push Alice out to protect her, but by the time I reacted, the formation was complete. The crowd, sensing something was wrong, quickly dispersed.
I wondered where the formation was drawing my power to. After all, I am an ancient dragon, with noble blood and immense power. Not just anyone could withstand my strength.
Just then, a brilliant golden light flashed across the sky. The heavens were torn open by a powerful force, and hundreds of celestial soldiers emerged. Leading them was a figure in white robes, exuding an ethereal aura.
Centuries ago, you ignored me, but now, after all this time, you are still within my grasp. Your underhanded tactics are as repulsive as ever.
You still have the energy to argue with me? Take a good look at what's beneath your feet.
I was startled and tried to summon my spiritual power, but there was no response. This shouldn't be happening. A regular binding formation could at most restrict my movements, not render me powerless.
This is an improved version of the binding formation. Let me tell you, breaking this formation is quite simple.
She tilted her head, grinning at Alice beside me.
This formation can only be triggered by 2 people, which is why Alice had no issues during our duel, but it activated as soon as you arrived. You need to decide quickly. The longer you stay, the more energy the formation will drain. If you delay too long, you might end up as a weakling.
By now, everyone understood. The formation would break if only one person remained inside. I frowned silently, and Alice tugged at my sleeve, placing something cold in my hand. Her eyes were like a painting, smiling with crescent moons.
Master, you saved my life. Without you, I might still be struggling as a servant, living at the mercy of others. I am willing to give everything for you, including my life.
At that moment, looking at Alice, I didn't hesitate to throw the knife away and spoke to her seriously for the first time.
If you know I saved your life, you should live well, not trample on it.
But.
No buts!
How touching, but unfortunately, one of you is destined to sacrifice today.
The binding formation was formidable. Soon, cold sweat appeared on my forehead as my spiritual power dissipated like smoke, rapidly draining away. I struggled to stay upright, negotiating with him.
I'll go with you, let Alice go.
Ethan's smile widened as he waved his hand dismissively.
No, no, no. Compared to gaining your power, I much prefer seeing your pained expression. It truly entertains me.
I gritted my teeth.
She is of the Phoenix lineage. How dare you?
His hand paused midair, and he squinted in thought.
Phoenix lineage? Today is indeed fruitful. But if you don't eliminate the roots, they will grow back with the spring breeze.
A powerful pressure swept over me. Unable to hold on any longer, I spat out a mouthful of blood. Alice hurried over, wiping the blood with her sleeve, her tears falling like broken pearls.
You are short-sighted. The Phoenix clan hasn't seen a new Phoenix in 1,000 years. If you send her back to the Phoenix clan now, they will owe you a great debt and become your powerful allies. If you're worried, you can use a secret technique to erase her memory.
The improved binding array directly restrained my spiritual power. A strong attack was not an option. Now, I could only try to protect Alice and find another way. Alice had a difficult life in the sect, and erasing her memories might be better for her.
Don't listen to his nonsense, Master. Raising a tiger will only bring trouble.
Ethan glanced at her coldly, and she immediately fell silent.
You heard her. Even someone from the lower realm understands this principle. I won't be fooled. How about this? Kneel and kowtow to me a few times to show your sincerity, and I'll consider letting her go.
His words fell casually, as if it were just a game for his amusement. My hands clenched involuntarily, my heart filled with rage. I, David, the dragon of the heavens and earth, had never suffered such humiliation. I was ready to fight to the death, but then I saw Alice's figure in the corner of my eye.
Fine. Remember your words.
I was about to kneel when a flash of silver appeared before my eyes. Something warm splashed on my face. My half-kneeling posture froze in midair. My eyes widened unconsciously as I slowly turned my head. At some point, Alice had picked up the knife I had thrown away. It was now firmly embedded in her chest, blood gushing out. Tears fell uncontrollably from my eyes as I rushed to hold her tightly, pressing my hand against her bleeding wound.
The person I admire should not be like this.
Holding Alice's cooling body, my mind was in chaos, flashing between the past where Emma killed me and Alice shielded me, and the present where she took her own life before my eyes.
Why? Why? Even in this life, I still couldn't save you.
Ethan's face turned serious as he raised a protective barrier, entering a defensive stance.
This is bad.
With Alice's death, the binding array broke on its own, and my spiritual power was no longer restrained. Ethan and the others attacked me together. My powerful spiritual energy surged forward like a tidal wave, carrying a destructive force. I glanced sideways, and all the spiritual energy froze in place. Gently, I laid Alice on the ground. With a wave of my sleeve, the deadly spiritual energy shot towards the sky.
Even with only 30% of my power, killing you all is more than enough. Since she is gone, none of you shall live.
With a dragon's roar, I transformed into my true form. My scales gleamed like metal, and my wings blocked out the sun, each flap causing a fierce wind. I soared into the sky, tearing through the clouds, lightning crackling around me. The once mighty celestial soldiers, who controlled life and death in the lower realm, now wailed in agony under my dragon flames. Emma perished in the inferno. Ethan, in his final moments, stared at me in disbelief, his hand trembling as he pointed in my direction.
You actually succeeded in your tribulation.
I said nothing, turning away. Kneeling before Alice, I gently lifted her, my hand caressing her cold cheek, a hint of tenderness in my eyes.
Alice, we can go home now.
A tear fell from my cheek onto her hand. No one saw her finger twitch slightly.
In a tea house, someone anxiously asked.
What happened next? Did Alice really die? What about the disciples of the Heavenly Water sect?
They were all slaughtered by the celestial being in that great battle.
Ah, so the current Heavenly Water sect isn't the same as before?
William shook his head, a serious look on his face.
He would never forget that day. Golden sunlight bathed the earth, and a fiery phoenix rose slowly, each feather burning like flames, illuminating the sky brilliantly. The phoenix was reborn, bestowing blessings, and all things thrived.